In this section, we'll go ahead and execute a run or a step in the process by adding source materials, both non-cannabis and cannabis materials, as well as creating outputs like packages or waste. So as we start with our first step, it's pre-filled from our template. So if there was an output item on our template, then the bill of materials here would be limited to just those templates matching that item, or just the bill of materials matching the item on the template. But since I don't have one on this particular step, I can select from any of my bill of materials. If I have a source item on this bill of material, that will pre-fill here for me, but I can also select any of the items in my facility as my source item. If selecting a source item, this will restrict the packages that I have available to select from to add as a source input package to my run. So if you don't select one here, you'll have access to all of your active packages, but if you do select one, you will be limited to just active packages of that item. I'm not going to select one, so I can select from any of my packages, and then I'll select an output item from my bill of material. So this bill of material only has 2 items, and as I select it, it will pre-fill with the ingredients and the bill of material quantity that I have. In this case, I'm going to create 4 kilograms instead of 1. And since my non-cannabis ingredient on this bomb is fixed instead of proportional, it's not changing here. But if it was a proportional item, it would update based on the quantity that I've specified here. Lastly, as I go to save this, this will pre-fill my run with the output and input information, but I have the option to create an output package of any quantity in the end. So this bill of material summary is really just to help pre-fill the non-cannabis inputs and what you're expecting to create in the end, but the actual information will be updated as we execute the run. So we'll go ahead and select save, and this will bring us to our pre-filled run. So as you see, my non-cannabis ingredients pre-filled, but I didn't select a source item, so there's no option here to select a package. And in order to select a package, I'll select here for add input. I can search for multiple pieces of information of that package, or if you have it in front of you, you can scan the tag number and that will filter this list for you. As I go and look for, we'll start with buds. Instead of using the full 6,000 grams, I'll go ahead and create it with 4,000. That will reserve 4,000 grams from my package, leaving me only 2,000 grams available to use in other processes. Now that I've added it, you'll see it's reserved here with the green check mark, so that means that there's 4,000 grams reserved from this package, and you'll see in the packages table a reserved quantity column representing that number. At any point, I can edit this input and select a different quantity or remove it to select a different package. And same thing with my non-cannabis inventory. I can select a specific lot or it will deduct from FIFO, as well as select a different quantity that I've used, or maybe I broke a jar or anything like that as part of the process. Additional non-cannabis materials can be added from the inputs, either individually or as a bill of material. So you can add multiple bills of material or add it at a later point if you didn't use it to start the run in the first place. Before I get to the outputs, I'm going to bulk update this run. Let's say from my bill of material, I had specified that I was going to create 4 kilograms. But as I go to pull the materials, I'm going to be using materials enough for 5 kilograms. So I'm going to be using more materials than I have listed here. I'm also going to select a source item just to show you what that looks like if you were to use one. Great. As I do this, you'll see that this is going to overwrite any of the information that I have here. So it's going to update the non-cannabis materials that were applied, as well as the output items. So I've selected a source packaged item here in my bill of materials from the run. I can now select source package to look for that filtered list. So this is the different way to add a source package rather than using the add input if you select a source item ahead of time as you start the run with a bill of materials. So again, instead of 6,000 grams, let's say we'll use 5,000 grams. And now our output package is available to create from. As you go to create an output package, you'll see it's now available to select from because I've added a source package. And I can either create a compliance output package or an intermediary product. The intermediary product is something that is in Canix only and doesn't submit to your compliance system, but is a temporary package of the sorts that holds that material to use in different steps of this batch. And then eventually those intermediary packages will be combined into a final compliance package. To learn more about intermediary products, see the intermediary products video, and that will explain when and some of the use cases that are helpful for this step. Here we'll go ahead and create an output. And as you create this output package, it looks very similar to split packages. You'll specify the number of packages that you're creating and the quantity for each of those packages. So instead of the total 5 kilograms I'm creating, I'm going to be creating a total of 3 kilograms. So regardless of what the bill of materials said as I started the run, that was just used to pre-fill my materials. I can specify whatever I'm creating in actuality here at the end. As I complete the rest of this information, anything here, you can also select these packages to specify one of them as a testing package, or to specify a different source quantity for that particular package. In this example, 5,000 grams from my source is being split evenly across my 3 packages. So you'll see here the source quantity that's being allocated. Same thing for the non-cannabis inputs. Even though it's deducting a whole 2 each for this particular run, the cost associated with those 2 each will be split across them individually or proportionally. I'll go ahead and save this to add these to the run. As you see here, my non-cannabis material or COGS are specified from my gloves. If my source package had any COGS on this, that would also be displayed here. And then as we add labor, this will also be applied to my output packages. At any point, you can go ahead and edit an individual package or edit all packages of the same item to change the location or the production batch number, anything like that. You can also remove all packages of the same item if you made a mistake and want to start over on it. Additionally, you can add outputs, so you can create more outputs if you have a different item or want to allocate the remaining source quantity. You have options to now add that intermediary product, or you can add waste. And as you add waste here, this is a package adjustment to the source package. So whatever weight or reasons you specify here, those will be submitted as an adjustment once you submit the run. And if the source will be a 0 by the time this is submitted, then you can go ahead and finish the package at the same time. Adding some additional information to the run now that the compliance piece is complete, you may add labor. And as you search for the users in your facility and specify the hours that they've worked, you'll see the hourly rate and the total COGS that will be applied. This is hidden by a permission, so in the user permission groups, you can specify which users will see this cost information and which ones it will be hidden from, so that users can add their own hours or people can add them even if there's visibility by others who shouldn't see it. As you add employees, you can add the individual employee name, or others may add more generic users to Canix to represent the labor, like a single shift employee or kitchen labor versus packaging labor. And those have different rates, and you can just generalize the hours rather than specifying each individual employee. As you add notes and attachments, these will be saved on each step of the process and accumulate up to that batch record so that you have all notes of every step, as well as who had logged it and what time they've logged it. There's 3 types of notes that you can add. Custom, which is just a free-form note. You can also add an equipment, and this is just some basic equipment tracking. If you don't see what you're looking for, you can always create the new equipment, and as you see, you'll add the ID and the name just for reporting purposes and for that batch record. So as you add those, you'll be able to see what outputs were created for each equipment in the reporting. You can see how many runs or how many hours were allocated to runs for this particular, or where this equipment was used. Any of that information that might help you determine if something needs maintenance or anything else about that machine. And lastly, you can add monitoring values. So if you want to track temperatures at multiple points throughout this process, or add anything like solvent and solvent quantity outside of the non-cannabis materials that you've applied, you can go ahead and add those as well. So as you see, it has all of the information for who logged it and when. And as a user, I'm the only one who can edit that note, so other users can't edit what I've specified here. You can also add attachments at the run level instead of the total batch level, so that as you go throughout each step of the process, you have photos from the resulting inventory at that step, any documentation or observations that were taken outside of Canix, or any quality assurance steps that you want to record for this particular materials. As you go throughout this run and fill it out, you'll see a few things to check before you go to submit this run. You'll want to make sure that all of the inventory has been used, which will relate here to this remaining source allocation amount. You'll want to make sure that you don't see any errors here in the output section as we check for all of the tag numbers and make sure that the inventory is valid before you submit. And as you go to submit it, this will lock the run from being able to be edited at any future point. So if you need to make any changes to anything on the run or made anything by a mistake, you'll need to reach out to our support team as that's not an editable action on your side.